Hey everyone, after grinding this game for a week, I've got quite the build for today's video. We are doing a Holopalm build using Frenzy as a Slayer. Now yes, this build by all intents and purposes is very similar to last league's champion Frenzy guy. However, I decided to go with a Slayer this time because I barely used this ascendancy and also because champion got a couple of nerfs. At the end of the day, both should still perform similarly, but for today's video's sake, it's a Slayer. And this guy turned out to be quite the powerhouse, as we've got Sirius on Awakener 8, the Cortex, Katarina and Maven herself as bosses for this video, though the Maven fight is a bit rough as it's my second time fighting her, and spoilers, I did successfully overcome the fight. It's still rough, but it will be until I get the hang of that circus. I've also got other gameplay like some Metamorphs, Quad Elder Slayers on an invitation or random gameplay here and there, so this video should be packed with content. However, do keep in mind that a character like this does require both manual dodging and also a hefty chunk of currency invested into it, mostly in the realm of a solid exploded chest. This is because our main skill, Frenzy, is a point-blank attack skill, and while Ancestral Call will help us clear maps, the exploded chest is going to make clearing a whole nother experience. Plus, the exploded chests are kinda cheap right now thanks to the return of Harvest, so at the end of the day, it's kind of a no-brainer really. At the same time, we are gonna need to pull off a lot of self-crafting for this guy. Since we are dex stacking and also we want as much life, resistances, chaos resists and damage, some gear can get rather expensive if we don't try our hands at making it ourselves. So I hope that you like rolling the dice because this guy demands it, if you wanna keep it budget friendly despite the overall cost of the build. Otherwise, that should be it for this rather long intro, but before we jump into the meaty part, if you enjoy the content, be sure to subscribe to the channel, otherwise a rating and a comment are always appreciated. And just like the guys holding GME, diamond hands are required for this character, so hodl. Alright everyone, you know the drill, it's gear time, and since this is a Holopalm build, this should be rather quick. First, a body armor resembling the faded Astral Rasa from Harvest League, which comes with an exploding moth, though I took the liberty of smashing that moth with increased dexterity, which can come from both Elder or Redeemer, you know, through an Awakener's Orb. You know, as well for some DPS. Fortunately, this body didn't break and I was able to slam life through Harvest, and craft some element avoidance, which I'm gonna try and cram into as many builds as possible going forward. We are gonna synergize this craft with some nodes in the tree. Anyways, the helmet needs 9% increased frenzy damage per frenzy charge as the enchantment, alongside life, resistances and as much dexterity as humanly possible. If possible, chaos resistance too, but that goes for the rest of the gear as well. The amulet needs life, a crap ton of dexterity, a resist, and we are crafting mana cost of skills on it, because Frenzy is a rather expensive skill, especially with Ancestral Call. We are also going to anoint Panopticon to get more damage while the Ancestral Totems are up. One of the rings needs vulnerability on hit, as either the implicit or as a suffix, alongside life, resistances, dexterity, and we craft more reduced mana cost on it. The other ring needs to be an onset ring yes or yes, with dexterity, life, resistances and more mana cost crafted on it. The belt is a synthesized belt that has increased dexterity as the implicit, and we are gonna craft it using Essences of Sorrow because dexterity does not spawn naturally on belts. We do this until we hit life and resists, and for the boots as much life, resistances and dexterity. Goes without saying, but we also want as much chaos resistance as possible everywhere and anywhere. My gear has the chance of housing more chaos resistances if I used Harvest to force it, but in your case get as much chaos resistance as you humanly possibly can. Anyways, for flasks, a Lion's Roar, a Sulfur and a Silver Flask. If you do not spec into Element Immunity, then the magic flasks are gonna need Anti-Freeze and Anti-Shock. But yeah, that is it for the gear, so now let us talk about the skill tree. And we are back to our regular antics with this guy. As you noticed from the gear section, I am generating rage passively, and this is thanks to a lethal pride with warriors under Akoya, which turns any keystone in range into Chainbreaker. However, this rage is only used to trigger Berserk during single target. Most of the time the rage is missing, but during boss fights they are the ones who are gonna go missing. Alright, so for the Ascendancy, we are a Slayer that specs into Brutal Fervor, Endless Hunger, Headsman and Masterful Form. This means that we leech and overleech, we are immune to stun and bleed while leeching, we are physical reflect immune while also dealing more damage against unique enemies, while also having an extra frenzy charge for even more DPS. Fun stuff all around. The character himself is a level 95 duelist, which I'd say is mandatory, so no half measures here. We side with no bandits, and for Pantheons, Lunaris or Solaris for Mayors and Shit Carry for the lesser one. Now for the tree itself, it is quite the ride really. We are gonna begin from either the dexterity or strength side of the duelist area, but first we are gonna head towards the Scion area to grab Impale, Life, and we go back down towards Fortify and more Impale. We also want a Cluster Jewel socket. This large Cluster Jewel has Exploit Weakness, Master the Fundamentals and Furious Assault as the notables, while having 8 passives at most, or else we overspend points. We are only taking 5 points here. The 2 Jewel sockets, Exploit Weakness and Master the Fundamentals. This large Cluster Jewel will also house one with nothing for Hollow Palm technique. Coming back to the skill tree, we are gonna grab dual wielding stuff, a frenzy and more life. From there we go right, grabbing the whole elemental element avoidance wheel near the ranger start. Then we grab some speed and dexterity, dual wield stuff, and we go down for increased dexterity and the life and elemental element avoidance wheel. Alongside the crafting the body armor, this life wheel and the other elemental wheel, we are immune to shock, freeze and ignite, which I'd recommend that you spec into. Moving on, we grab life, another frenzy, more life, more dexterity and damage. Alongside the life, another frenzy, a bit more life, a bit more dexterity and attack speed and more life. We grab the skill tree with some jewel sockets and aspect of the links. The jewels themselves have increased maximum life, chaos resistance and as many damage mods as possible, like dexterity, attack speed, fist damage, overwhelming of fist damage reduction, damage while dual wielding, etc. But yeah, that is it for the skill tree, which is a bit stretched out but should make sense as the numbers go up. So now let us grab this shindig with the gem setups. In the body armor, Frenzy linked to Impale, Divergent Multistrike, Fortify, Brutality and Divergent Ruthless. For mapping, we are gonna swap Ruthless for Ancestral Call, though with all honesty, Ancestral Call can stay here 99% of the time. Ruthless is only useful for Sirius or Maven, really. In the helmet, Flame Dash, Pride, Berserk and Flesh and Stone. In the onset ring, Dread Banner, and in the boots, Ancestral Warchief and Phantasmal Ancestral Protector, which are linked to multiple totems alongside Blood Rage. And with all of that said, this character was bonkers to play with. Sure, mapping isn't precisely super fast or super smooth, but he's gonna make up for it with the Exploded Chest and the single target damage. With all honesty, I am not only relieved but actually quite proud of the character's progress. It's week number 2 of both Ritual and Echoes and we are dealing big fat numbers while also sweeping through content. And this has a lot of room for more damage, life and chaos resistance. It all depends on the quality of the gear that you get. If you can get better gear, push those numbers up and melt stuff even faster. However, as I said in the beginning, this guy requires manual dodging. You can eat some incoming damage thanks to the overleech, but generally speaking, the less you're getting hit, the better. It is also not super cheap, but also not ultra expensive to build. So it has some drawbacks, but also quite the positives going for it. And as I mentioned, the Cortex, Sirius, Katarina, Maven were more than doable with this character, though for the Maven it was going smooth until the last phase, but that's on me. Though you'll see that this guy has her fight secured. With more practice I'd say maybe a flawless is in order, but I don't know. Thanks to my first completion of her encounter, I realize now that more damage is a necessity. Or better game skill. Something amongst those lines, but damage is probably the better option. And with all of that said, I'll leave you with that very Maven's fight. Though it has no music, so that may be a bit awkward. Anyways, thank you so much for watching tonight's content. Be sure to subscribe and I'll see you on the next video. Take care, have a nice weekend and peace out.
Stand still. A cascade of pain. Stand still.
Pain will be returned Tenfold. Space aligns. Behold my collection.
I can't do this just yet.
I will have what I want. Death will not be an escape. Scurry, scurry. A cascade of pain. Stand still.
Death made real.
A cascade of pain. Stand still. Why?
Resistance will be punished. Time contorts. Scurry, scurry.
My irritation is growing. Death will not be an escape. Scurry, scurry. Do what I say. A cascade of pain.
Death made real.
Stand still. How?
Stop resisting. Reality bends. Punishment inescapable.
Arrogant toy. Stand still. Michael. Take this. Stand still. A cascade of pain. Stand still. Death will not be an escape. The prettiest pink.